school and parish of Gayndah have a long history. As Gayndah is one of the oldest towns in Queensland, it is no surprise that the history of Catholic education in the area is also very long. On September 13, 1919, Archbishop James Dewig and Mother Mary Marcella, who was the Mother General of the Sisters of the Good Samaritan, arrived in Gayndah for the opening and blessing of the convent. By this stage, the parish was on its third church, having lost the first two to natural disasters, and the local parishioners had worked very hard to build the school and convent. St Joseph's School was not intended to be open until January 1920, but on his visit, Archbishop Dewig announced that the school would be opening October 6, 1919. On October 6, 1919, there were 56 children on the roll. By the end of the year, 70 children were enrolled in St Joseph's Gayndah. The sisters taught and lived with the boarders all under one roof. They taught everything from music to milking cows. They prepared students for the sacraments and for scholarships. Many past pupils hold fond memories of their time here with the Sisters of the Good Samaritan in Gayndah.
Sisters whom I remember are Sister Oswald, Sister Magdalena, Mother Anna Maria, and there were quite a number of other sisters in our time.
I think my favourite was Mother Joseph Anthony. I thought she was so clever with the way she organised concerts and maypoles and marching. She was so efficient. She made us practice and practice and practice until we got it just perfect. She was very good.
Overall, my most significant impression was the dedication and the love of the nuns. They worked so hard to give us a good education, and one story comes to my mind when Joseph Anthony was here as the mother. I was the last of the scholarship years, and she was determined everybody would pass scholarship. So much as I hated it, every Saturday morning into the afternoon she would give us extra lessons, and she was blessed for her commitment because everybody passed in that year as far as I recall.
I remember all the nuns. I remember Sister Oswald because we always dreaded going into her class but she taught me mental arithmetic. If anyone can teach me mental arithmetic, got to be pretty good.
All the town was so grateful to have the nuns here while we had them. It was a very sad day when they left, but there was there's people here today who've come to catch up with some of the nuns, you know, and Sister Edith was telling me that she couldn't remember the name, but someone had said that they remembered her walking down the street and going into shops to get stuff, and they had no real connection to the church or the school, but they do have a connection in the community, so, you know.
Yes, I had Sister Monica for grade 1 and 2, and then I had Mrs Fairburn for grade 3, 4 and 5, and then I had Sister Edith for grade 6 and 7.
I won't mention his name, but my best friend was a good boxer, and I wasn't. He was short and I was tall with his long arms. And one day, one of my brothers and sister came along and they both said to me, "This person's been calling them names." And for some reason, even though he was my friend, I was very protective of my younger siblings. So I chased this boy right down the back paddock, through the long grass, down the riverbank, onto the sand, and with one lucky hit, I dropped him. And I was more surprised than he was. Well, we both ran back up to the nuns. He was going to tell on me and I was going to tell on him. And he said, "Sister, Kim Costa just punched me and knocked me over." And I said, without mentioning his name, "He called my sister a very naughty word." And the nun, being very wise, she said, "Boys, I think justice has been done. Off you go and play together." And we did. There was no more discussion about that, and that boy went on to remain a good friend of mine. As a teacher myself today, I feel very blessed that I was taught by the nuns who taught us faith, taught us that Jesus was a friend, taught us to love each other and to love the Lord. I think that was the foundation. So when I went to boarding school, which was a Catholic boarding school with priests teaching, and they were wonderful men, we had the most excellent foundation from our parents, nightly prayers, rosary and so on, and the nuns teaching us to pray and teaching us the catechism.
Yeah, the parish was very connected to my life and the lives of my siblings. I mean, you came along to Sunday Mass as a family, all the family.
The whole seat, the whole 9.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm one of 9, so there was a big seat of the Jeffs family. Yeah, no, very involved. The parish was very involved. Our family was very involved in the parish.
I really remember one thing I used to love and remember to this day, and I actually have a thing on my iPad that goes off at midday for the Angelus.
Oh, the Angelus,
Oh,
yes, I'd
yes.
forgotten
We
about
used
that.
to do the Angelus, and I used to love that. And
Forgotten
I
about that.
remember all our liturgical movements that we used to do, the dances to music.
They were beautiful.
We used to have to take it in turns to go down and ring the bell. Did you used to do that?
Oh, the boys did.
the
We
boys
never
did.
used to
Oh,
get
no,
to
we got
church.
a
The boys did.
We got a chance.
Yes.
So I was appointed parish priest here in 1979. I'd come 2 years earlier and worked with Father Leo Skelly as the assistant priest, so that's 77 and 78. And then Father Skelly moved on and I was appointed parish priest, and it went from being the parish, from being a 2-priest parish to a 1-priest parish. Now, I mention that because the community of sisters who were here, the Sisters of the Good Samaritan, they became in a very real way a supportive company. I was coming back from Mass at Mundubra, but another car came the other way and I thought it was on a right-hand bend. And I thought he was going to, just clip me, sideswipe. So I moved over and went into the gravel, and the back of the car came round and went into a slide, and then I think the left front tyre blew out. Anyway, shot across the road, hit a little embankment, and we came to rest, still sitting in our seats upside down. And so neither of us were hurt. And even though I heard later some of the parishioners drove past the accident because they'd been at the Bowls Club in Mundubra and didn't want to be anywhere near police. But I remember 3 days later, I was sitting in the church here in St Joseph's, and this is coming back to the presence of the sisters, and I was saying evening prayer, and suddenly I just started to cry, shock. And I can remember saying to our Lord, look, I know you're here, but I need someone with skin on now. So I went over and knocked on the front door of the convent and said to the sisters, look, I just need a cup of tea now. So, and that was all duly given, but it was the way in which they lived their faith, the way they taught the kids, the way we all worked together.
In 1990, the Good Samaritan Sisters entrusted the leadership of St Joseph's to its first lay principal, Mr Lindsay Dean. The sisters continued to take an active part in school activities, and in the following years, more lay principals enjoyed the task of managing the growth and development of St Joseph's.
I came to Gayndah to St Joseph's School in 1995. I came as APRE and came with a new principal at that time, Gary Burdett. And 2 years later, in 1997, I took over the principalship and was principal here till 2001. Gayndah was my first principalship. It was my introduction to the role of principal, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to be principal. St Joseph's School had 68 students when I took over, and we built the school up to 91 students. The building that I'm sitting in now, we built as a new classroom block at that stage, and there was lots of growth and development in that time. The thing that I loved the most about St Joseph's School Gayndah, and the thing that has stayed with me all of my life, is the community of this school and this town. We were welcomed into this community with open arms on the very first day we arrived. We arrived on a Saturday, went to Mass here on Saturday night, and by the end of that Mass, we knew 30 people and they became our closest friends. Our children were 2 and 7 when we moved to Gayndah, and they were 9 and 14 when we left. And I could not think of a better place to raise a family. We have many, many very dear and close friends here, and people that have stayed friends with us for life. And that's the quality of the people of this community. I'd like to congratulate St Joseph's Gayndah on reaching this milestone of 100 years. It has been a strong and steady influence and a provider of Catholic faith for this community for 100 years, and I hope it stays that way for many more hundreds of years. Congratulations, St Joseph's.
I think one of the things that I really loved so much about Gayndah is the community aspect. How the community embraced us as a family, and it is such a great place to bring up children. We were a very proud Fatima family, and we enjoyed being Lewis at everything. I'd like to pass my congratulations to the current principal, Teresa Shepherd, and the staff on the wonderful celebrations for the Centenary of St Joseph's School, and wish the school all the best for the future and carrying on that good Sam's tradition.
We really enjoyed our time in Gayndah, and for us there was the little things. It was having the chickens in the backyard that would make the journey over the fence, and join a couple of the students in class as well. It was the fact that the school was a progression of our own backyard, and our time would be spent of an afternoon playing on the slide and catching up and doing little bits and pieces around the grounds. For me, the standout would have to be the access to the groundsman shed, which when I first arrived, I had limited skills. By the time I left, I just about loved that shed more than anything. So the things that stand out in my mind is being able to sit and have a chat with the children while we fix the sprinklers, because they had a much better understanding of irrigation than I did. Being able to go on those trips to Brisbane and share experiences that children from the country hadn't had the opportunity to do prior. And most of all, it was just the chance to be a part of the community. So our weekends were spent going along to watch the kids play football, the netball, and albeit spending time at the local pool as well.
I am the 4th generation of the Bryant family to attend here, and it has been amazing. The community of St Joseph's is so welcoming, and all the students and staff were just happy to help. It definitely has had an impact on who I have become. I would just like to thank everyone for helping me at school. All the staff were just amazing.
You could write a book on the changes. Like when I was working here, our staff room was the back veranda outside Kath Oberly's kitchen at the convent building. Our staff toilet was over in that building. We didn't have one in the school building. There was no lawn between the church and the school. That was all just bare ground underneath the berry trees, and the kids used to play with the beans off the trees. Not a skerrick of grass there, nothing would grow. And the new demountable buildings and the library building, that's been one of the greatest blessings for the school, that new building there, because they designed it so well. It fits its purpose to a T, very, very timely and very good, and it almost went underwater in the floods, but didn't, not quite. So.
The school today is quite different from when we were students here. There was no air conditioning, no carpet on the floors, no fans, no conveniences at all. It was very cold in winter and very hot in summer. But we were expected to bear with it stoically like the good sisters did.
And one day Mother said to us, she said, "Kim and Tom, will you go over there and kill those 3 chooks for me? Because we're having those for the weekend for the nuns and the boarders." Well, I'd never killed a chook in my life. I didn't like hurting animals. I hadn't used an axe except to chop wood. So I asked Tommy, and he said, "Yes, I've chopped a head off before." So there we were, on this big block of timber. I had the chook by the head here and the legs there stretching as far as possible while the axe came down right in front of my head, Thank God we got the 3 heads off and my head was still on my shoulders. As a teacher today, I can just imagine the workplace health and safety rules I would break if I asked my students to take the axe and go and kill some chooks. How things have changed.
We used to have, there was always the competition between the Catholics and the state school on sports days, and we used to have these little chants songs that we used to sing, not very nice to each other, but I think they said the same back to us. But nowadays...
These two, they said it back to us.
They said it back to us, but nowadays there's much more interaction with the schools and it's great.
Today in 2019, St Joseph's is the westernmost school of the Brisbane Archdiocese and consists of 67 students and 26 staff. There are currently 4 classes: Prep 1, 2-3, 4-5 and our beautiful Year 6 leaders. Our site includes the parish church, combined parish and school hall, a beautiful well-grassed oval, a multi-purpose court, a basketball half-court, shaded play areas, tuck shop facilities, an expansive library, administration block, classroom facilities and an area for specialist teachers.
The good thing about St Joseph's is the teachers, they give us good education, but whilst we're learning, it's also really fun with our maths, science and other activities.
I like playing handball, sports, carnivals, yep.
We play with kids not only in our year level, but with lower and higher year levels. Our learning is great, but we have a lot of fun and they give us amazing opportunities to push our education even further.
St Joseph's is a really special school and it holds a very special place in my heart. People often mention when they walk into the school they just feel something special. I'm very fortunate to have had a long connection with the school. My mother started here as a student in the 1940s. I was a student here in the 80s, and at that time our classrooms were all within this building and we had a little art room down in the back, and that was where my mother went to school. That was her classroom when she was here. I now have children at the school. I'm so proud to be a part of St Joseph's, and I started working on the staff here in 2013. And I remember one of the questions was, why would you want to work at St Joseph's? And I just thought, well, who wouldn't? We're just one big happy family. Everyone looks after each other. We do try to glorify God and live out our motto, and we try to make that evident in our actions. And it's just a lovely place to work. It's a lovely place to have my children. I just love everything about St Joseph's.
Yeah, there's an award in my mum's memory, the Heather Barber Memorial Award, and it goes to a child every year, a struggling child that has achieved the most. Encouragement Award, there you go. It's the Encouragement Award, thank you, son. She always helped the underdog sort of thing, you know, like, yeah. Any kids that were struggling, like, yeah, she used to come in here on a Monday morning, bring us kids to school, and she'd be here all day with kids with learning disabilities, just reading and doing maths and simple mathematics and stuff, and reading, yeah, just all day.
In 2012, the convent adjacent to the school was converted into a modern arts and cultural centre. Students today are able to access the art and music facilities, and the function room is used by the wider community. In the spirit of the Good Samaritan Sisters, St Joseph's continues to provide great educational opportunities, growing the hearts, minds and spirits of our learners as we have done for the past 100 years. We look forward to the future with hope.